I want you to ask yourself something. Have you ever found yourself out of the blue, really emotional, perhaps extremely fatigued and exhausted? Or maybe your whole body feels so heavy and you're wondering, like, what the heck is wrong with me? And maybe that happened around an anniversary, a birthday, a certain season of the year, a holiday, something that reminded your body of something that's happened in the past, and it's triggering you, even though your mind is past it, but your body is speaking differently. You see, we tend to think of grief as something that's a period of time. It's typically reserved for the loss of a loved one in death. Maybe it's divorce, the end of a relationship, or some sort of catastrophic loss. But what if grief is so much bigger than that? What if grief is actually simply part of being human? What if grief is not something for us to get over, but it's something for us to honor as part of the human experience? Today, I want to talk about the many faces that grief carries. There is the real grief of losing someone that we love. And there are not many of us that get through this life without losing someone, physically losing them to death in our life. It's part of loving other people. It's part of life. Our physical bodies are finite here on this earth. And there's other kinds of grief too. And sometimes we glaze over them because we think we shouldn't be grieving. But there's grief of watching our children grow and leave the nest. There's grief of becoming someone new. That's something that I have experienced myself and I witness in a lot of my clients as they're working through things, letting go and literally stepping into a new way of being. And there's grief that comes up. There's grief that can surface so many years later when we thought that we'd already moved on from something. And that's the kind of grief that I was mentioning in the way the body remembers in a season, a time of year, a birthday, a celebration. You see, grief is not evidence that anything is wrong with us. It's evidence that something in our life really mattered. And we're going to get into that today on today's episode of The Daily Surrender. It's something that I just walked through. And actually, I'm still in it. I just honored it. So I feel like my head is cleared enough to talk about it here today on the podcast episode. So I recently went on a vacation with my family. It was a beautiful vacation. We took the kids, who are now young adults, to Turks and Caicos, and it was something that I'd been dreaming of and wanting for a really long time. I wanted one last really special party of five vacation with the five of us before my son completely flies the nest. He's getting married next year, and he's going to be living 9 hours away from us. And I had a lot of expectations around that. That's going to be a different podcast episode, so stay tuned. And we went on the vacation at a time of year that is a busy season for our family. We are all Geminis except for my husband, me and my three children. I only have three. Me and the three kids all were born in Gemini season, end of May, beginning of June. And so this vacation backed right up to the birthday celebration. So I got home from vacation. Vacation really was great. Jumped right back into life, went into the birthday season, and all of a sudden I started to feel immense exhaustion, like heavy, heavy, heavy fatigue. That kind of fatigue where you feel like you're slogging through your day. You have to force yourself to get up, do the thing. We've got a lot of good, happy stuff on the calendar. I was very busy with clients and work as I got back from the vacation. And after a couple of days, I started to think something's wrong with me. I'm taking my temperature. There's no temperature. I'm trying to pinpoint, is my body asking me for more of something? Other than these naps that I was needing, I'm not really a napper anymore, but I was crashing on the couch for an hour, falling asleep at night, like unable to keep my eyes open. And I just felt super, super heavy. And I went through this for a few days and I was honoring what my body was asking me for. But of course, I'm a human being, so I get frustrated. And I'm also someone who likes to super sleuth everything. And I'm super sleuthing it from all the physiological lenses, right? And I'm like, I can't really put my finger on it. Like, okay, I can feel that my allergies are a little bit activated. Taking some extra vitamin C to flush the histamine, and all right, taking those naps, right? And then it dawned on me. It hit me so hard. I pulled out my journal from 3 years ago because I started to really remember what I was walking through 3 years ago, exactly this time of year. And if you've been a faithful listener of the podcast, you've heard me talk from probably episode 1 here and there, sprinkled in, about Molly. Molly was a very, very, very dear friend of mine. She was a mentor of mine. She's a woman that I prayed to come into my life, and she changed my life. We became incredibly close as I hired her initially as a coach, and then we transitioned into her being my mentor. And in many ways, Molly filled a role for me in my life of a mother. She was a mother to me in so many different ways. She was a mother to me in ways that my own mother couldn't be. And I know that I also became a daughter for her. We had a very incredibly unique and sacred relationship. It was very special. Nothing that I ever could have imagined, and probably nothing that I'll ever have again. It was truly a gift. And Molly, 6 months prior to what we walked through together 3 years ago, had told me that she had terminal cancer. It was a turbo cancer. It was in her jaw. And it went fast. It went really fast. And Molly had invited me to walk that thin veil with her and to come really close. And it was a season that blessed me. It was absolutely beautiful. It was bittersweet in all the ways. She taught me so much about life, about trust, about surrender, about death. She had said to me repeatedly, Jen, I hope to show you and teach you that there is no fear in death. That death is simply a transition in form, that the soul will never die, that I am still here. And 3 years into it, I still experience her. I have a soul-to-soul relationship with Molly. I connect with her regularly in so many different ways. And I hope, if you're listening, if you've lost someone, that perhaps you've experienced that too, and you've experienced the beauty of a soul-to-soul relationship. But regardless, you don't know about that until you experience it. So when I was in the crux of it, and it was getting super close to her end days, which was happening exactly 3 years ago, it was heavy. I was so in it, and I was so fatigued from the enormity of it, and the enormity of knowing that my time being able to connect with her and talk to her in human to human form was coming to an end. And I remember every step 3 years ago. I remember the last time I got a text message from her and it was jumbled and I could barely read it. And then I waited and then no more came. I remember the day on June 1st when I was at my son's graduation, and life had to go on. Life went on. I was not able to physically be with her. She was in a different state, and she went into hospice at her brother's house. And he texts me from her cell phone and he said, Jen, this is Casey, Molly's brother. Molly's no longer going to be able to talk. I've got her. She's comfortable. She's drugged up. She's in her hospice bed, Jen. Let's stay in touch. And I remember the pit in my stomach and the reality of knowing our time together again was coming to an end. Our time of being able to even have a conversation was over. It was done. Her and I had said everything we needed to say to each other. And we said it over and over and over and over again until Molly could no longer talk. But neither one of us knew exactly when that time would be. So anyway, I'm at my son's graduation and I'm trying so hard to stay present and stay focused to this beautiful moment for my family and this beautiful moment for my son. And at the same time, I'm in two places at once. So that was June 1st. And then June 2nd comes and it's like radio silence. In all the years that her and I were connected and friends and mentors and mentee and this really unique relationship we had, there wasn't a day, not a day that went by where we didn't talk, where we didn't communicate, whether on the phone or over FaceTime or texting each other morning, noon, and night. And so there was a teetering out up until the last day. But that first day of complete and utter radio silence was hard and it was heavy. And I was slogging through. I was putting on a good face. I was showing up for my own family. We had lots of celebrations going on. We had birthdays and graduations and all the special things because life is to be lived and life comes with duality. It comes with beautiful things and it comes with painful things. There's new things that are emerging alongside of old things that are passing and dying and fading away. So June 4th comes and June 4th is my birthday. And we happened to be at a bridal shower of my brother-in-law and my sister-in-law. And I remember thinking, is today the day? Because Molly had a plan. Molly was quite a unique individual. She would not get into that hospice bed until she had to get into that hospice bed. And she was going to continue to live and do good on this earth and leave this world a better place until she couldn't. That was her plan. And I knew her plan really well. And I knew the plan to cut water and food. And then, again, anybody who's been with someone on hospice knows that there's different medications they can give you to ease your transition. And she would use the maximum of the medications to ease her transition. And she said, I'm 3 days, I'm done. 3 days, I'm done. That was her plan. So I'm calculating and thinking that's June 4th. It's going to be June 4th. So I'm at this family event and it's a very beautiful celebratory family event. And my heart's in a completely different place. And I'm heavy and I'm slogging through. And the fatigue was real and the grief was so intense. And I'm checking my phone every chance I get and nothing. I'm checking in with her brother and she's still here, Jen. She's still here. Great. Play these songs for her. Can you play this video of our special river spot? Please. Tell her I love her. Please. Again. And that was June 4th. I went to bed that night and June 5th. It was June 5th that Molly transitioned over. So the story really isn't about Molly. I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of a background as to what I was living through 3 years ago. And I've worked through so much of that. And today I can tell you, I receive all of it as a gift. It wasn't my preference. It wasn't Molly's preference. And it is what is. It's what happened. And when we can lean into looking for the gift in everything, we receive it. And so I have received it. I have received the gift in her leaving, and I have grown so much in 3 years. This podcast wouldn't even be here, I do not believe, if I had not walked through that and really, really, really went through a solid year of learning how to surrender in ways that I did not comprehend before that. And my relationship with Molly, as beautiful as it was, I was really dependent on it too. And so Molly was God with skin on for me in many ways, but we're never supposed to make a person, right? God. So her physically leaving really forced me to go straight to source. So anyway, there's my background. And as I was feeling this heaviness, this weight after vacation and like thinking something's wrong with me. Is it my hormones? Am I getting sick? Am I coming down with something? Again, all the things. I'm racking my brain, trying all the things, resting. And when I looked at the date and it dawned on me and I pulled out my journal and I flipped to the exact date 3 years prior, what did I see? A lot of prayer. I was writing out my prayers. A lot of gratitude because I did back then and I do know today that gratitude helps. But I had a lot of repeated, I'm so tired. I'm so fatigued. I feel like I'm slogging through. Everything feels so heavy. It's so hard to move. It's so hard to smile. And yet life goes on. Molly wants me to smile. She wants me to be celebrating with my family. She wants me to be living the life that is in front of me. Life is short. Hers was taken early. Keep going, Jen. Keep going. So I go back and I read it, and it hit me, like gut punched me, that what I was experiencing in my heavy fatigue, not feeling well, but unable to pinpoint what the heck is happening, was that grief living in my body. My mind has done so much growth and moving on. There's not a day I don't think about her. There's not a day I don't miss her. Anyone who's listening to this, who's lost anyone in your life that you've loved, you know that. You know that. And you're probably experiencing the same things, right? But my body remembered something so different. My body started to react to the smells, to the purple phlox that grows along my walking path that I sent her so many pictures of because her hospice team was team purple. And I thought it was so appropriate that my walking path was lined with purple flowers. My body remembered in all of our birthdays and the sequence of them. It was associating how I was feeling as I was walking through that. What I really want to talk to you about is grief as a whole. And I also want to share that it's so real how our bodies keep score, that our body really truly remembers what sometimes our mind forgets. And I've talked about this from different lenses before when we take a look at the metaphysical, which is something that I do a lot of with my clients. We look at the symptoms that show up and we trace them to the emotional congestion or the things that are trapped in the body that are creating the physiological symptoms of dis-ease. So grief has its own way of showing up for us. And grief is a part of life, and it doesn't just come for us when we lose someone. It doesn't just show up for us around the period of the event that we're grieving or the thing that's triggering us as we grieve. It's part of life. It's part of this human experience. Grief is the emotional response to any meaningful loss. Any meaningful loss. So we grieve as humans, we grieve loved ones, alive sometimes. Sometimes it's a relationship that's shifted or a relationship that's ended and that person hasn't passed away, but there's grief there. Or it's a relationship that has just changed form, such as our children growing older and you're never again going to hear them running down the stairs because they don't live in your home anymore. Relationships, again, relationships can grow and evolve and change and end and expire. Friendships, same thing. Our health, we can grieve the loss of good health. We can grieve as we watch our bodies age. We can grieve dreams that once were so big and they are no more. We can grieve different seasons of life. We can grieve our parents aging as we watch our parents age. I have quite a few clients right now who are in midlife. I work with a lot of women in midlife and their parents are elderly and they're grieving. They're still here, but their parents may be walking their own thin veil towards the end of life, suffering from things like Alzheimer's, dementia, cancer. We can grieve transitions in our career. What once was something that lit us up doesn't light us up anymore. And that makes us really sad. We feel lost. We can grieve transitions in even our faith. Our faith could be growing and evolving, and we're grieving what we once had, even though what we have now is good. But what we once had was so comfortable because it was so familiar, and we've changed. So anytime we change, there can be grief showing up for us. That includes different versions of ourselves. So I wanted to make that really clear here that it's not one thing. Every single ending contains some measure of grief, even when the endings are good, even when they're good. So again, something like my son getting married, it's beautiful. It's really beautiful. And I can tell you there's grief. I shed quite a few tears when he came home for a very short period of time before going back down to his job in North Carolina. I would hug him as he was sitting at the island in his chair that he's been sitting in his entire life and just nuzzle my head into the back of his neck and try and capture time. And tears would come up. There's grief there. Healing old wounds is something that's so beautiful. It's something that I help so many people do. And there's also grief. Grief will come up. I've stood witness to it. I've stood witness to clients as they're healing have waves of emotion, waves of tears just wash over them. There's the grief of perhaps the little girl who wasn't protected when she was young, and she had to grow up really fast, and she developed some internal beliefs about who she was, and they led to her putting up some armor, taking action from her limiting, distorted beliefs. And as she realizes that as an adult, she's sad for that little girl. She's sad for the little girl who didn't feel seen when she was young. There's grief of the woman who spent so many years abandoning herself. That one's a big one. I can tell you that. Again, personally and also professionally. I have sat with so many women who have had really unexpected grief come up as they've realized just how much they've abandoned themselves, just how much they have abandoned themselves and been codependent in relationships, people pleased their way through life, lost so many years. Now that they are more awake, they're grieving for the years that they were asleep, essentially. And it's hard. It's painful. And sometimes the deepest grief isn't over what happened. It's not over the details of what happened. It's over what never happened. And you could apply that to absolutely anything that I've mentioned so far. So for instance, with Molly, some of my grief is over what didn't continue to happen in our relationship. What could have been if she was still here? And we can come to peace with what is and still, again, grieve what never happened. And in it, for me, I'm going to loop it back to what was happening with me that really prompted me to have this conversation with you guys here. When I had that awareness that perhaps what I've been feeling is so much more metaphysical, and it's my body's way of saying, hey, we've got something that is asking you, Jen, to pause and honor, to feel it. Please feel it. Please stop shooting yourself and thinking you should be over it. There should be no more tears. As I really let it sink in, I started to cry. I had a nanosecond where I said, no, I don't want to cry. No, I am done. I shed so many tears. I have purged. I am in acceptance. I am good, God. No more, no more, no more, no more. I had a beat. That was like a minute, right? And then I just let him come. I just let the floodgates open. And as they did, the healing, cathartic tears started to wash over me. And they were so cleansing. It actually felt really, really good to just allow it and to finally see what it was that had been weighing me down, that had me feeling so super heavy. And we often judge ourselves for crying. And I wanted to share this with you because this really brings me comfort and relief. But tears are truly one of God's built-in mechanisms for healing. They are divinely designed for us. Did you know that emotional tears are actually different from the tears that we produce when, say, we're chopping onions and we start to tear up, or we get dust in our eyes and we tear up? Emotional tears contain higher concentrations of stress hormones and other compounds associated with emotional distress. So when we're releasing tears, we're releasing that excess cortisol that is building up instead of holding it in. So researchers believe that crying actually helps to activate parasympathetic nervous system. And our parasympathetic nervous system is our rest, our digest, our restore system, which is one reason why so many people feel calmer after a good cry. Yesterday, when I had my big emotional purge and I just allowed myself to sob and sob and sob, and I talked with a girlfriend who held beautiful space for me and encouraged me to cry. Like, feel it, Jen. You're not wrong, honey. Like, go, girl. After I let myself do it and I didn't judge it and I didn't put a timeline on it and I didn't fear that it was never going to end, I felt so calm. I felt such a peace wash over me, a peace that I hadn't felt in days and days and days. And a lot of that physiological heavy, like, slogging type feeling, that type of a fatigue that I was carrying around, it was like poof, gone. So tears, my friend, are not weakness. They're not. They're divinely designed for you. They carry wisdom. They are one of the ways that the body helps us to release what we're carrying, to get it up and out. It's washing the windows of our cloudy soul. And as those tears wash the windows of our cloudy soul, it allows more light to come in and out. It's so beautiful. You can feel it. The next time you have a good cry, the next time you allow a good cry, I want you to pause and feel how you are experiencing yourself after that cry. Do you feel the light more? In John 11:35, we read that Jesus wept, a very short, simple verse in scripture. It is actually the shortest verse in all of the Bible, and yet it's one of the most profound verses. Jesus knew that his friend Lazarus would rise. He knew it. He knew how the story ended for Lazarus, and yet he still cried. He knew death was not the end. He knew that there was nothing to grieve, and he still wept. Why did he weep? So spiritual understanding does not make us emotionally detached. I love that Jesus shows us this as a human, because he was fully human. He showed us like, hey, I have really great spiritual awareness. I am incredibly connected with the divine source of all. I know that there is no death. I know that this moment in time is so temporary that the soul continues on eternally. I know that. And I still feel. Love still feels. Love mourns. Love grieves. Jesus did not bypass his grief because he knew the higher truth. He allowed himself to enter fully into the human experience, and he allowed himself to feel. That's so important. He modeled that for us. The shortest verse in the Bible is so profound and powerful because Jesus was showing us the divine provision found in weeping, in tears. Matthew 5:4 says, "The blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted." So notice that Jesus doesn't say, blessed are those who hold it all in and put on a good face. Blessed are those who suppress their emotions. Blessed are those who tough it out, who get over it quickly. Blessed are those who mourn. Why? Because mourning softens our hearts. Mourning creates space for comfort. Mourning creates space for compassion. Mourning allows love to continue to flow. Again, I'm a super visual person, so as I'm mourning, I'm visualizing, and as tears are flowing from my eyes, I'm visualizing the windows of my cloudy soul being washed by love. And if I wasn't doing that, would they be washed? Carl Jung taught that there is no coming to consciousness without pain. I love Carl Jung's teachings. And they always remind me how all of life is so orchestrated for us when we allow ourselves to lean in and see it. And if we're to elevate our consciousness, and so as we elevate our consciousness, we are expanding our awareness of God. The kingdom is within. So it's in our awareness that we connect with God, because God is not outside of us. He's not in the sky. He's in us and all around. And we connect with the divine. We connect with God in our consciousness. So the pain of this life is awakening us. Every awakening includes grief. Every transformation includes grief. Every resurrection requires some sort of death of some kind. So Jesus went through this process of crucifixion into resurrection, not just to carry his cross, walk to his death, and die on that cross for our sins. I believe that it's so much more metaphorical, allegorical, actually. I believe that what he did was model for us the invitation to die to the false self, to die to the ways of the ego, so that we could allow the new, we could allow what is truth to be resurrected within us. And we go through that process so many different times in life. And as we go through that process and something is dying, there's grief, there's sadness, there's pain, but it's serving a purpose, as Carl Jung said, in elevating our consciousness. C.S. Lewis, there's a quote by C.S. Lewis, and if you don't know, C.S. Lewis was a profound spiritual teacher, author, and he had lost his wife to cancer. And he said that the pain I feel now is the happiness I had before. That's the deal. So the depth of our grief often will reflect the depth of our love. So when you're walking through grief and it's really painful, allow yourself to also feel and see its counterpart, the love. It wouldn't exist if you didn't have the love. And I know that that's helped me a lot as I've walked through all kinds of grief. Jen, you're only feeling this because you've experienced love, and that intensity of the pain that you're feeling in your grief right now, it's actually quite beautiful because it's honoring the intensity and the depth of the love. Grief is not love's opposite, but it's love's companion. They go hand in hand. It's actually quite beautiful. So surrender, obviously this podcast is called The Daily Surrender, right? And it's something that we're doing every day. Something new is showing up for us. And there's this invitation. And when we're looking at our topic today on grief, surrender is not, its goal is not to get rid of the grief. It's just not. I know that when I've been in intense seasons of grief, I just want it gone. Like I want to figure out how to just cut it out, get rid of it, be done. That's not the process. It's allowing grief to move through us. That's really the surrender there. It's the allowance of it. So instead of asking ourselves, like, how do I get rid of this? We can ask ourselves, what is this grief asking me to try and honor? What love is this grief pointing me towards? What mattered so deeply to me that my heart is still remembering? Ask yourself those questions the next time you're feeling grief come to the surface. I promise you, doing that, and maybe it's spending time journaling, maybe it's creating an honoring ritual for whatever it is that you're grieving. Maybe it's talking it out and asking someone to witness you and just share. And focus on, again, what is it that is pointing you to? What was the love there? What was it that mattered so much that it hurts right now, that's gone? So you feel the grief and you allow yourself to feel it because it's honoring to the beauty. It's honoring to the love. So I'm going to leave you guys before we wrap it up with just a couple takeaways. So if you're grieving something, anything right now, and if you're not right now, you will in the future, so you can come back to this. Or maybe perhaps you've got someone in your life who's walking through a season of grief. You can share this with them. Let yourself feel it. Cry if tears come. Move your body. Moving our body is one of the best ways to move the stuck energy through. So perhaps that's praying, dancing, yoga, whatever it is that floats your boat, but move. You can pray. Journaling is another way to get things up and out. Perhaps there's words, cry, create something. Find safe people. And by safe people, I mean people who can sit with you in the grief. There is a beautiful song by Krista Wells. You can look it up wherever you listen to music, called Come Close Now. So if you are walking through a season with a friend or a loved one who's grieving, listen to that song. And if you are walking through a season of grieving, listen to the song and share it with your loved ones, because that song teaches us how to sit with somebody in grief. Krista Wells actually wrote it after hearing the story of a man who had lost his daughter. And when she asked him what it felt like, he said, it felt like I was on the top story of a house that was burning down and I was tied to a chair as the house burnt around me. And nobody could get me out of the chair. Nobody could save me from what was happening, but they could come close. They could sit with me in my fire. They could sing to me. They could bring me water. They could support me, but nobody could take it away from me. And she wrote the song. So listen to the song. Somebody shared it with me after my sister lost her son 14 years ago. And when my family was going through the grieving of his loss, alongside of really supporting my sister in the loss of her child. And I didn't know how to do it, but that song, I listened to it over and over and over, and I've listened to it so many times and shared it with so many people, again, as my reminder that I can't take it away. It's not our job to take it away from someone, but we can sit by someone in their fire. And if you are that person who's being tied to the chair in the fire and you know that you just have to live through this, find your people who can do it, who can sit with you and share and ask, like, are you able to witness me? We don't want fixers. We do not want people rescuing us. We just need witnesses. And then lastly, just remember, grief isn't linear. There's really no rules with it. We want the rules, right? Like we want the 10-step process and we want to know when it's going to be done. And just like I experienced, gosh, it was yesterday morning, really. I feel so much better today. Like I'm telling you, I had 5 days of just heavy slogging. Like I thought something was wrong with me. And, and when it dawned on me, oh, okay, we're having another wave. It's a tidal wave that's being asked to be seen and felt and move through me. I feel so much lighter today. I feel so much better today. So if you're having a wave and that wave is coming at an unexpected time, or it's coming years later, 20 years later, it doesn't mean you've gone backwards. It means that your heart remembers. So just honor it, honor it, honor it, whatever it is you're going through. So as we wrap up, if you're grieving today, I want you to remember, I want you to know that you are not grieving wrong, and your grief that's coming is not wrong. It's not bad. It's not something to get rid of. So whether you're grieving the loss of a loved one, the end of a relationship, a season of life that's passing, a dream that never unfolded the way you hoped it would, maybe it's a version of yourself that no longer fits you, you are not wrong for feeling what you feel. Grief is not evidence that you're broken, my friends. It is not evidence, again, that anything's wrong. It's evidence that you have loved. And perhaps that's the invitation today. It's not to rush yourself. It is not to fix yourself. It is not to judge yourself, but it's to sit gently beside whatever is arising, to honor it and listen to it and let it move through you. Grief is not separate from this human life. It's one of the ways that love continues to speak. And sometimes the most surrendered thing we can do is simply allow ourselves to feel. If you need support walking through a season of grief, if it's been hitting your body really hard metaphysically, like it did to me after Molly died 3 years ago, I hired someone to work with me. I needed help. I knew that my physiological body needed support, but I knew that my heart needed support. Reach out to somebody. I'm here for you if what I do as a soul aligned wellness coach is aligned with your needs. Perhaps it's finding a grief counselor. There are grief share groups, just someone. Do not walk this alone. You don't walk it alone. So until next time, my friends, keep surrendering, keep trusting, and keep remembering that even in the waves, God is present. Thank you for joining me on the Daily Surrender. If today's episode spoke to you, I'd love to hear your reflections. Send me a message, share this with a friend, or leave a review. Or remember, true healing and freedom come when we let go, surrender, and trust that God's way is so much better than our way. Until next time, my friends, keep surrendering, keep rising, and keep walking in peace.